Welcome to the Relatable Debatable podcast. My name's Julie Veljic, where we talk about all things that are debatably relatable. Today I do have Andrew Weiss here, and we're actually going to be doing a mock sales interview. Ran into Andrew over the holidays, and we were talking about how he's thinking about career changes, getting into sales, and I worked in sales for a while. I've got a decent career, and I thought it could be interesting and fun to do a mock interview, but...
Oh, yeah.
How's it going?
Going good. I figure who better than you, you know?
Feeds me compliments. I'm a tough interviewer, though. I'm not nice.
Okay. Well, yeah. I got him laughing already, so I'm just warming him up, you know?
Okay, Mr. Charming. You trying to sell cars or what?
Honestly, I would be a great car salesman.
You would be a great car salesman.
I would be great, dude.
I think you would also be really good at life insurance for some reason. I don't know.
Dude, I've fallen into that trap a couple times. Dude, they tried to get...
bought it?
No, they tried to get me to sell it a couple times, and a couple times I was really down on my luck. I'm like thinking about it. And then he told me this one story. He's like, yeah, one time I was really late on my quota, so I just hang out, when I'm really late, I just hang out at diners late at night and wait for waitresses to ask me what I'm working on, and then I sell to them. I'm like, that's the most schemy thing I ever heard. So yeah, I can't sell life insurance.
Oh, so you've got moral ethics.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. That's a positive direction.
I can only sell a good time. That's really what I'm best at.
You can only sell a good time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to get too far into you, because if we're going to do this like a mock interview, I need to know nothing about you.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to just go. You cool with that?
Hit it. I'm ready.
Welcome, Andrew. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
For sure. So, my name is Andrew Weiss. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Jersey legend.
Jersey legend.
I live in Brooklyn now, and I love it, you know. I think one of the things I really love about Brooklyn is just, the autonomy, doing what I like. So right now I work at a bank, holding in a joke. But right now I work at a bank, and I do sales there, sort of. And so what we sell is financial products.
Okay.
And so in those products I've been successful. I've reached my quota on most quarters. Out of the office, I like stand-up. I'm an avid Knicks fan, so I know how to handle adversity. And I love learning languages. I'm a polygamist, so I love learning languages.
Okay. I've decided I'm going to give you feedback immediately.
I like it.
Because I feel like I'm not writing down, and I should be. So initially when somebody asks you, like, tell me about yourself, you can crack jokes. But I think there's an element of the what's in it for me, of, like, what's your unique selling point.
My unique selling point.
Your unique selling point to me.
Okay.
Like, especially as a salesperson. And to say I do sales sorta then kind of gives an element of lack of confidence.
Okay.
So if you're going into like an account executive role or a business development role, or even I would say like more advanced like customer success, like there is an element of concise directness that you need to be, and not like I sort of do this and I do that, like, and I'm from Brooklyn. Like, you can do like I'm from wherever for sure, because that is like into you as a person. But I've been working in sales XYZ, currently at a financial company. I've exceeded my quota every month by X%, because like that's impressive. Now you're like, oh, okay, I'm not talking to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, because if you're hitting quota, especially when you're interviewing for a sales job, that means you've done something right.
Yeah.
So the about me should be like no more, like we're in stand up a minute or less, right? Kind of like get to the punchline of like, what am I taking away from this?
Yeah.
Because now this person's going into judgment mode from that, just like stand-up, just like your opening joke, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got like, what's your key unique selling point almost, or how? And you can ask.
So when you start with that, you really want me to go in like, hey, immediately, what can I provide? How competent? Show I'm competent.
Yeah. Why
show
not?
I'm capable.
Why not?
Yeah.
No, but tell me, why would you not? Like I'm about to give you potentially $100,000.
Hopefully,
right, to start, plus commissions.
Yeah.
And if you're, where's that going to get me? You can start to show your personableness when they ask about like conflict, overcoming this, or if a customer's like X, Y, and Z. Like you can bring in like that charm, like because you're very charming. You can bring that in later, more of that like funner elements, if you will. But it's like the elevator pitch. The first 30 seconds, first minute. What's in it for me? Are you wasting my time? A lot of people in an interview will be like, they check out after the about me if they're like, yeah, this person isn't for me.
Yeah. So
You know
just
what I mean?
hit hard with the beginning and just first build up my integrity.
Yeah.
Make sure that they know, okay, let me listen to this person for the rest of this 29 minutes.
Correct.
Okay.
And you've been in sales how long?
I've sold everything my whole life, but I would say like formally, off and on 3-4 years.
But you even saying I've been in sales my whole life, I think that's a fun way of bringing like who you are into the interview and you're about me.
Yeah.
Like I've been in sales my whole life. Like I would sell like if there's something with your parents or your family or there's a reason you said that, right?
Yeah.
So like bring in that because it's like real, right?
Yeah.
Because that's actually how when I was interviewing for sales, I've been in sales my whole life. I was a server. I'm like, even as a kid, I sold tickets to concerts on Thanksgiving at my house.
Yeah.
And I made every one of my relatives give me $1.
I like that.
And like, then they're like,
As a kid, I used to sell rocks and get quarters.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's you brought in you were authentically you're funny, and then you're also like, but you're like, I'm a hustler. Like, I don't have fear. Because a lot of times, especially like someone who hasn't been doing sales for a long period of time, people don't like the concept of talking to strangers. People don't like the concept of asking people for money, and people can put on this like facade. They get in. That's why like there's like you see this like turnover a lot of times. But it's just like when you're pitching somebody, not just for the not pitching you're selling yourself in the interview, right? So just like when you're pitching or selling a product, what's in it for them?
Yeah.
And if you're dicking around, and it depends, you read the room, right? You can tell if the interviewer is like down to
clown, or
shit,
if I should like, all right.
or you can tell if they're like, why am I here? What am I doing? Okay.
That's valid. I like that.
That was about me. Not too bad though. How do you approach finding new clients?
Man, I think it all starts with talking to people, and generally when you do a good job with your existing clients, they're willing to refer you to new clients. So I would say leveraging your relationships, meaning, hey, this person I work with currently, they know that I do a good job. They know I'm capable. Let me refer you to someone else because they know that the services I can provide can be of assistance to them too. And so a lot of those word of mouth referrals. Also, don't be afraid to get cold calls. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just opening the door to a conversation. So I think something I've really excelled at is cold calls. I remember one job I had previously, like this conference company I worked at. I did really well, and I sold the most on anyone in my team, not because I was the most gifted salesperson or anything, but I just kept calling the phones.
Yeah.
And I just kept building a network. So I think approaching new clients is important. I think it's something I have a proven track record of being successful with.
That's good. So if I were to reformulate the order of which you did it, I would talk about because referrals is huge, right? Word of mouth is very real, and just like getting a job, a lot like referrals, huge.
Yeah.
Somebody sticks their head out, does the introduction for you, so on and so forth. You already have a leg up. You've already established the credibility. I think if you open with that and you're like, once I've while that's going, I'm not afraid to pick up the phone. I'm not afraid to look for new ways to reach out. It's also not just the phone, because I feel like phone's dead. I don't know I cannot tell you the last time I answered a sales call professionally or personally, but I think if you speak to a little bit of the drive of it's not just a call, it's also an email. Sometimes back in the day, I would go on Twitter and message people, tweet people, comment, find an article. If I know there's a big conference, ask to go, things like show your resourcefulness across the board. It's not just about calls.
I could tell you like that answer because your eyebrows went up, so I'm like, okay, keep harping on it.
Yeah.
And it also made me relax because I'm like, okay, she's real. She hasn't gone Botox, And so that made me respect you as the interviewer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do get Botox, and I'm due, but thank you.
You wear it well. You wear it well. You don't got the Priscilla Presley. You know?
Oh, well, no. You got to go to somebody good, right?
Yeah.
This is a lot. A lot isn't real here. But it's all about looking natural, right? How do you fake it? Okay. Talk to me about how you handle objections with a client. Like, I don't want to buy. No. I'm good.
Why?
I just don't have the money right now.
Okay. So, you know, is the product like of interest of you? Is it something you think you would ever get? Let's say if you did have the money.
Maybe, but like I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I get it. You know, I think something that's great about this product is, you know, what if it's something that saves you the money that you would invest into it? And so ultimately you look back and you're like, well, I ended up saving money because I received that product.
Okay. So, secret to sales,
Yeah.
create a problem.
Okay.
Create a problem for the person.
Okay.
Or do some discovery to get to a problem or create one. Right? So
like you said, it was a matter of money.
yeah.
And so what would be a good retort to that?
So there's a reason you reached out to me for whatever it was. Like there was something that pre-qualified me. So I would go back to what pre-qualified me. So let's just if this was like a financial, I don't know, what could you be selling me from a financial perspective? I'm not good at thinking on my feet with this right now, but either way, like I think the way to approach it, if you get asked the question, how do you handle objections with the client? Like first, before even getting to like, oh, why do you feel that way or I would just openly be like, well, usually if somebody's objecting, it's for one of two reasons. They aren't sold on what I've presented, or I haven't done a good enough job doing discovery to weave in how I solve their problem. Because it's less about like the back and forth. You don't want to own the money. No one ever wants to spend the money, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's I feel like the number one excuse for people to say no to things, right? But if when you're meeting, let's say you're a new client, and I want to sell you, I'm reaching out to you to sell you comedy classes.
Okay.
The reason I reached out, like how I've qualified you, is because I know you've been doing comedy for less than 2 years. I don't know if that's true, but like you haven't been doing comedy that long. I've seen every time you go on stage, you're doing something different. So there's something that's maybe not sticking. And I see that you're going up on shows, but not as much as you probably would want to. But I can tell you're funny. And I do just think maybe like there's a structure that you need. So this is how I've pre-qualified you as to sell you a comedy class. And then you could come back to me and say like, oh, but I'm a poor college student or whatever, Like, I totally hear you. There are payment plans. And so I'm sure we can work that out. But like, I would ask you, like, do you want to pursue comedy? Like, I would ask, like, whatever do you want to do it? And if the answer is no, like, oh, it's just a hobby and this is just something you're doing in your free time. Yeah. I totally understand. Maybe the value isn't there, but like, you also did mention you want to do sales. Taking a class also helps you with presenting skills. You also will get an opportunity to network. But if you do want to pursue comedy, like, you get a professional who's been doing it for 20 years. They've been passed at all the clubs. So like, I'm starting to bring in like the value adds, but I'm also trying to speak to maybe things that you've thought about. Like, yeah, I do want to be on stage more. Or yeah, maybe you're all right. Like, I'm going up and my set isn't the same every time. To me, that's like an indicator of, oh, he's just consistent. I don't either see you enough or you're consistently trying stuff out. So I'm trying to find like maybe potentially what you're struggling with comedy and trying to bring in why you should buy this comedy class.
Yeah, and answering questions I might not have even asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. But you may have not asked, but you've thought.
100%.
Or you haven't thought it and you're like, oh, but that's right.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of research comes into play too when you're like prospecting, depending. But I will tell you, like when you're researching clients, like think about juice worth the squeeze. I'll tell you my biggest thing is like I don't want to do SMB sales. Like I feel like you probably would thrive with the smaller to medium businesses because you're like they're personal, they're more likely to like shoot the shit and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like size of the prize, who's gonna give me the most money?
Yeah.
So I read their annual report. I read their QBRs. I read if they've been in articles. I read if they've been in the news and all of that. And then I try to find a way to make it a negative. Right? And yeah.
Yo, how are you at picking up people? Because I feel like you get good reads on people.
Yeah, I've been told I have Riz.
Okay, I see you. I see you.
I'm pretty charming.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I will say, because I grew most of my life, I was overweight, so I had to be. And because it's funny, because people would be like, oh, they're like, some people from afar be like, oh, she can't pull so and so. I'm like, no, I could literally get anybody. And like all I have to do is read the room, read the body language. What is he saying? What did he not say? And there's an art of manipulation a bit.
Yeah.
But manipulation isn't always a bad thing. And sales is a lot of manipulation.
It is. I think that's the part I've always been conflicted with sales is sometimes, a lot of times I feel like I'm just selling you this because it's in my benefit.
Then you're not selling what you should be selling.
Well said, I agree.
And I can say that because I've sold, like I used to sell domains, like website domains.
Okay. Like you were GoDaddy.com?
No, well, so the person I worked for created an a system to buy domains that recently expired, and then that person wants their website back because it's their company, it's their business, it's their whatever, and then he would sell it back at a premium. So instead of getting it for $25, now you're buying it for $5,000.
Damn! Oh my God!
Or more than that, because if it was a good one,
yeah,
like we're talking millions for certain domains. So I had no passion. I did not give a shit about that. But when I got into ad sales, for example, I saw the value it brought to the company. If you don't see the value in what you're selling, it's going to come out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't want to do insurance, life insurance sales for real. You want to sell something that you think is a good product.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
It will never work. People can tell if you're faking it, if you're just reading off a slide.
So how do you find a product you actually enjoy selling? Because that part's been hard for me, dude.
Yeah, no, that's like that you enjoy selling. Well, think about the things that you like. What's something you like?
I love laughter. I think that's why comedy has been easy because I've always been good at sales. Mm-hmm. I feel like I never really had a good outlet for it because that reason. I feel like I have mixed intentions. But with comedy, I'm selling myself. I'm selling laughter. I'm selling a good time.
When you bark, how many people do you usually get in?
I'll get 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Low-key.
You love comedy.
Yeah.
There's a drastic difference between, like, I'm sure you've seen this down by, like, the Cellar and the Grizzly Pear. Comedy.
Yeah.
Show in 15 minutes. Like, nobody wants to fucking go
Nobody.
to that. Nobody.
Even if they want to, they don't want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's thinking about the things that you like. Like, if there are things in tech that you find interesting, there's that. Or if you let's just say, so Amazon TV network, right? Or Amazon streaming, Prime, now they have a bunch of sports. And maybe, do you like sports?
Of course.
Okay. So you've got streaming TV.
You look at this body and ask if I like sports.
But like, if you like sports, you like TV, you know that there's a value for a brand because nobody's watching commercials anymore, but people are watching commercials when there's sports.
Yeah.
Now we're taking real time, love the only place you can watch these sports from a streaming standpoint. I'm a brand who needs eyeballs of men, women, whoever. Yeah. Then maybe I would get into ad sales, right? Like you can see the value for both sides.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying it helps if you love it, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't see the value, you can't fucking do it. Like maybe there's like an email software. Maybe you were never into software or anything like that, but you see the value in it. You see how businesses could flourish from it, then you can get behind it. So
I could see ad sales, definitely.
yeah.
Because you think about how much a company pays to have a Super Bowl commercial, but you think about how much they receive off of it. And so that I could at least, okay, I'm giving this company a benefit. I'm giving them something, you know?
There's also medical sales too. I don't know, like, are you a stoner?
A what?
A stoner?
Never.
Never. Yeah. Okay. But like, there's also, you could be a drug dealer, like now that it's legal, an
Dude.
official drug dealer.
I was for a long time.
Yeah.
I liked it. I loved being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
I was the best, dude.
But now that weed is legal, you can sell that. I think if you wanted to learn about pharma and things like that too, get behind some erectile dysfunction drugs.
Yeah.
Sell that all day.
Yeah.
You know? To
Because
doctors
then I could
and
even tell
people.
my personal stories, you know?
Exactly. Anything, but truthfully, anything that you could bring in a personal story, people are going to be more drawn in.
100%.
Right? So there's so many different types of sales. Now, the thing to think about too is how much money do you want to make, right? Because there's certain sales you can make a lot of money. Some sales, not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you like property? Like, do
Yeah.
you like real estate? I would probably crush it as a real estate agent.
You would.
Crush it. Because I've also worked in so many different things, so my network's so big.
Yeah.
And I love houses and stuff like that. So I feel like that's another angle of sales to like think about is finding it's hard because you look at some of these sales jobs, right? And you're like, I don't know, I don't care. But if you want to like, I told you this when we first started talking about this, if I found roles and people that I thought I could connect you to, I would have already.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I can see you doing really well with dispatchers and truck drivers. I don't know why, just see it happening. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I can also see you like being like, yeah, I'm going to get you your cars across the country. Or Albertson's grocery store, I'm going to get you your food where you need it, and I'm going to negotiate you the best rate. Because basically when you're doing logistics, I feel like you're not going to feel slimy per se because you're just helping. Usually these products need to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You're not really impacting day-to-day people. You got truck drivers, and then you've got the companies that are just trying to either sell their food, sell their cars, sell whatever. Where I feel like in logistics, you would probably do really well with that and just like navigating all right, I'm going to get this load for this much, and then I'm going to get this, because I already know this truck driver kind of owes me, and I got him this extra one, and you'd be able to like, I personally,
I'd love that.
That's where I think like you would also thrive. It's also not as like buttoned up of an environment.
I need that. I'm not the button-up person.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So, and if you're not a button-up, like that's where there are some logistics firms that are very buttoned up, don't get me wrong, but I do think like, even just being in like supply chain and some of that, I can see you doing that really well.
Just somewhere I get to talk to people and just have like a real conversation, not like some facade or whatever. That's where I work the best because, you know me, like I'm great at talking to people. I enjoy it. You know, I do that any day. And like I remember the one sales job that I had that I was successful at, it was like a payment app. It was like how you have Venmo. Yeah. Basically, you go to a store and you use, this payment app to pay for your things.
Yeah.
So my store was literally just going to small businesses, hey, saying, what's up? Would you be interested in signing for this app? Go visit them, a couple times a week, reoccurring, talk, and just walking into a store,
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that audacity or whatever you want to call it, but I always enjoy, I've never had any problem talking to people, as long as it's not this button up, hey, let's just have a conversation.
Yeah. I can see that sparks to Zendesk for me. So Zendesk is like a chat form for a lot of like small to medium businesses, like if they can't like to leverage AI, but to at least like collect leads and things like that. A lot of these companies don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually not that expensive for them to add on. I can see you probably doing well at trying to sell stuff like that. But like, tell me, you told me you want to get into sales. You told me you have a vision for your career.
Oh yeah.
What is it? What's the plan? What have you mapped out for yourself?
Yo, a lot. So
a lot.
No, for sure, yo. So like, I'll just be like honest with you because you're the homie, yo. So comedy's number one.
Yeah.
Like comedy's the only thing I've ever like truly enjoyed, and like I'm lucky I found my thing in life.
Yeah.
And it's comedy. And so everything I do has to be based off of that. It has to lead back to comedy. So what I'm doing now is a paycheck.
Yeah.
It's a good paycheck, but it's not enough. It's boring. I don't like it, you know? And so I have to go back on that. So based on my plan is what I really wanted. What I really admire people who are good at sales, people who are professional like yourselves, like some of my friends I have, because I just think the confidence you have, the ability to sell yourself, because so much of comedy is selling yourself, whether it's on the stage, off the stage, to a club, selling tickets. Sales is such a skill that is necessary for comedy. And so whatever I do for my job, for whatever I do to make money so I can pay rent, so I can have a life, it needs to have something that has one skill related to comedy. Right now, what I do doesn't have enough skills. If I get a sales job, it does have a skill related to comedy.
Yeah.
And so if I could do something like that, then I can move. Okay, and then I can make progress. Sales, you know, you can make good money. Again, it's related to comedy, so that makes me happy. I like that.
Also, something to think about through that lens is the more clients you have, more of people are going to want to come see you.
1,000%.
And all of that. And how often you produce a show, or do you produce shows?
I produce a show.
Is there a reason you're not doing, like, are you not making, do you make enough supplemental, are you making money when you're producing shows? Let's start there.
Yeah, we put out like a tip bucket. Free tickets put out a tip bucket. So usually we make like 50.
Tickets.
Yeah, we'll make 50. We made 150 sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'd be killing. I'm not going to lie. You know?
Well, so, I mean, you're talking about, especially if comedy's your number one and you want to do sales, why don't you just get into producing more shows and sell them for an actual ticket price?
Man, because what I like about having, and that's a great question. That's a great question. What I like about having a job is, or whatever,
stability.
Yeah, but also like, like right now, like comedy, like 5 to midnight, 1 a.m., I'm doing comedy. Don't talk to me about nothing else. I'm doing comedy.
Yep.
You know? But that leaves my day open. So during the day, I can make my coin. And so if I work a 9 to 5, I can make my coin and still go out and do comedy. And so I like that. When you start producing shows or whatever, I don't want to have to be, you know, it's not as consistent, you know, maybe a little more, you know, maybe I'll hit a point where I do
sales isn't
that.
consistent.
No, but I can at least have my hours, 9 to 5 are segmented towards this. Focus on this.
Yeah.
Because if my whole life is comedy, it doesn't give me any time off. And I found personally that can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially at this point.
For
like,
sure.
let me just make my coin and, you know, do it in something that applies to comedy somehow.
Yeah.
And then I'll do comedy at night and just enjoy it. Love it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I want to start going on the road this year and start making some money doing comedy. So I'm finding that, but yeah, that's sort of my middle ground. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And I need health insurance. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Usually that when people are like, why haven't you gone out and done everything on your own and just like done my own thing? A lot of it goes back to health insurance.
100%.
And then there is something about like 9 to 5. I work more than that, unfortunately, but there is consistency. And when you're out on your own, just even if you're just like producing shows and what have you, it's, to your point, not, at least like even if you're not getting the commission checks, you're still have something coming in.
Yeah.
But like something I struggle with, so I mean, I enjoy producing shows.
And you're good at it too.
Apparently I'm good at it. The problem I have is because the more I learn about how shit we get paid in comedy, I want to pay comics well. Like I think I've told you this. Like as well as evenly as I can.
100%.
Right. And I think that's also a little bit of what I struggle with in the comedy scene. And when I see what the clubs are taking, sometimes you're paying $30 on a ticket, 30, 40 with taxes and shit.
After drinks.
And then, but even more, like, with it all, I like, something we all need to come to rationale is, it's going to take a lot for us to afford a normal life just doing comedy.
Yeah. 100%. A lot.
And it's
dude.
we're gonna have to do more than just comedy.
Yeah.
Case in point, podcast. Like, it's getting yourself out there. And
you look at like successful comedians now, especially who's come up in the past 5 years, who doesn't have a podcast?
Yeah.
Who doesn't have some other thing going on? You have to be so multifaceted now. No one just makes it on stand-up comedy now. It's other things, you know? Podcasts are so important. Doing sketches are so important. And, you know, we have friends who are, you know, fairly successful creators.
Yeah.
You know, 100,000 plus followers on Instagram, all those things. And it shocks me that even with the 100,000 followers, they're still working a job and they're still not making a lot of money off of it. And so, again, like, that's what I like about having a job is I'm able to make money. I'm able to get my insurance. And I'm able to switch. At 5 p.m., my brain switches. I'm not thinking about nothing related to my job. Don't call me. Don't contact me. Whatever. I'm on the comedy. And I like that separation. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have trouble getting up in the morning. You know? If it's a weekend or, you know, whatever, I have trouble getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
And what I like about the 9 to 5 is, hey, I have a reason to get up. And by 5 p.m., I'm already on a roll.
Yeah.
So I'm already hot. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I struggle just waking up in the morning just because. Like, I'm like, well, I struggle to try and do it all. Words.
Yeah. There we go.
That being said, my last piece of advice for you when you think about interviewing for sales, doing sales type stuff, one of the things that I feel like has personally set me apart when I've gone into any job, and this is whether it's interviewing for a job or selling to somebody, I always ask, because if they're like, oh yeah, send me this stuff, or da-da-da-da, or yeah, like maybe in a week or two, blah, blah, blah. I always ask, what's preventing you? Is there anything preventing, in an interview, is there anything you see preventing me from moving forward?
Okay.
Because then when they give you their objections, their reasons, if you can't rebut them, you probably shouldn't have sold them in the first place.
It's true. Wait, so let me just ask you, because I mean, you are very knowledgeable, dude, and you've helped me out like a ton. So, like, sincerely, thank you.
Of course.
You know, so when I first think of sales, the first thing I think of is tech sales, just because it's been popping. You can make a lot of money, all of that. But I that's one of the only areas of sales I can really point at and define. Yeah. So you were talking about the other forms of sales, you know, the SMB, you know, you mentioned truck drivers too. Yeah. What are some other forms of sales that I should be aware of that I might have a talent for, or you knowing me, that I would enjoy, just because my knowledge on fields of actual things to sell is limited?
Yeah. One thing that I think could be interesting is like getting into like some form of like production, because like selling production space or getting to a place of like there's the aspect of like whenever people are like shooting, because I'm trying to also think of like how can you still maybe be adjacent to comedy. People hire production houses to shoot specials, to shoot sketches, to shoot commercials, There's production sales that I think could be interesting. The real medical sales, truly, that's an option. There's tech sales. I mean, there's so many. To be fair, like recruiting is technically sales. So
100%.
Recruiting is another, and you can recruit for anything, and you're sometimes making a month of what you let's say you sold in a $150,000 salary, you get 1 month of that, right?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's
so
pretty good.
Like, I feel like recruiting is an interesting option for you, because I think you would do a really good job of getting to know somebody and then pitching them to the company or brand. And have you had a chance to talk to
Ashley?
Not Ashley.
Oh, the other Peter?
No, I'm forgetting.
I know who you're talking about,
but
though.
You haven't talked
with
to him
the drumming. Yeah. I haven't. He was gone for work, so I'm going to follow up with him probably on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He looks cool.
Ask him about recruiting. Tony. Ask him about recruiting, because I can see you doing well in recruiting, because you're basically taking somebody's experience and then selling that and then helping that. Then you're learning from the company and what they want, and you're more of like a matchmaker. Yeah. So that's a bit.
I like that, and like to what we were talking about earlier, like I feel like it's honest. Like, hey, I'm selling this person. I'm trying to give you a job.
Yeah.
You know, so I like that. I can sleep good at night doing that. You know.
That's the only thing I'd have to like. I'm sure there's thousands of different types of things you can sell. Even down to like, I feel like you would have thrived if it's still around, of like going around in the summer and having the house painting. That's a thing where like you knock on the door and you're like, oh, I saw this over here. And then you literally like just.
Hey, your house kind of looks like shit. We should do something about that, you know.
But it's also easy to identify the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I forgot what it was called, but there was it's like a national company that people literally go around trying to sell you to paint their house.
Dude, I know a lot of those. I know a lot of door-to-door salespeople. Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to do door-to-door.
I don't.
We've talked about insurance. Insurance is
yeah.
Ad sales isn't bad, but ad sales you have zero background in it, so there's that. You'd have to start at the bottom, but you have to be okay with graduating. But again, the thing is, in anything in sales, if you do well, that's what's great about sales. It's kind of a flat culture. You do well, you just grow.
Yeah.
Right? You're already making your way up.
I feel like it's honest in that.
Yeah, it's very, there's not too much politics.
Yeah.
At least early on. Obviously, when you get to a certain level, there's like are you going to become chief revenue officer? Probably not immediately. But at least the first, I would say 5 to 6 levels that I've seen, and this is just from my experience, if you do well, you can graduate, make more money.
Yeah.
Do all of that.
I think that's where I'm at now. We're like, I'm fine starting at the bottom. I'll explain to you why I told Ashley 2026.
Yeah.
I have a good reason for that.
What is that?
All right, I'll tell you. But do we have to end at 4?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because, dude, I want to keep picking your brain, dude. Because I like what you know what I mean? Dude, you low-key really are knowledgeable, dude.
Thank
and,
you.
like, I really don't know much about it, so I really do appreciate everything you say. But my big plan is I'm becoming a German citizen soon.
Okay.
And so I want to do a comedy tour in Europe because you can make a living doing comedy in Europe. You know, you're not going to make great money, but you can make a living.
Yeah.
And my logic is I have to take chances.
Yep.
That's who I am. I'm a chance taker. And so my plan is I want to do that in August.
Okay.
And so in August, I want to move to Europe. I want to spend about 3-4 months there.
Okay.
And so my plan is between now and August, that's about 6.5 months. If I start a sales job, another month, 2 months.
That's fair.
And then most of the beginning, especially first 3 months, I'm not going to make a lot of sales just because I'm learning. So my logic is let me just make some money leading up. And once I'm back, then make that pivot.
Okay. I wish I would have known Germany was in the equation.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, because I didn't want to ask all these questions and then just be like, oh, by the way, peace, I'm gone.
Later.
Yeah,
no. At least you're upfront about it, and I respect that, and I appreciate that.
And you're like a friend, so, like, I'll tell you the truth, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are essentially at time. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for letting me attempt to grill you. And I'm like, okay, no, I have to give feedback right away. But it was just top of mind. I had to do it. But yeah, pick my brain anytime. Hopefully this is somewhat helpful for anybody watching. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Thanks.
You were. Thank you. You're the best, for real.